Welcome to this week's episode of the Business of Real Estate podcast with Lynn, Hoffmann, and Eric Johnson. Today's topic, the price is right, or is it? We're talking all things about pricing, specifically overpriced homes and taking on those listings. If that's something that you fear or struggle with, then we're here to help you this week. Lynn, so this is, we see this a lot right now, don't we?
Every day.
Every day. I know in the Niagara region, we have the most listings they've had ever in the history of the Niagara board. There's so many houses still on the market, but there's so many that are overpriced.
Yes.
Right? And I know that we see that in all areas, not just in Niagara, but it is a problem when an agent, and I think it really comes down to is people having the confidence to say no and to walk away from business when a client insists on a certain price that they know is way over the top.
Yeah.
So let's get into this and let's give some advice to the agents on how do they overcome this.
Yeah. Well, first of all, that's a daily conversation I'm having. Okay. And we are doing way too many cancellations and relists, which is, to my mind, a waste of time. The problem starts at the beginning. The problem starts at the initial conversation with the seller. There has to be some realistic expectations of what the market's going to bear and what is moving and what isn't. And the agents are the best person to know that. They know their craft. They know what's going on in the market. They should be able to pass that information to the client. Now, some clients are these days in a little bit of a spot. They're a little sideways, I call it. So they're a little harder to help with this question, this issue. But if the agent can articulate it properly, that if they price it right the first time, it is more likely to sell quicker, less painful process and be done and move on. We have got a lot of inventory. Part of that is because it's basically a late spring market this year. More properties are going on. That's a normal occurrence. But what isn't normal is that a lot of them are sitting for a long time. And that's generally, first of all, price, then condition, then location. The funny thing that I've been asked multiple times recently by an agent is, do I have to take that listing? Mm-hmm. The answer is no, you don't. It's your business, and so we can talk a little bit more about how to protect yourself with that. But you don't have to take the listing. If it doesn't work for your business model, then you don't take it.
Yeah, and this is true in any business. I've worked with a lot of different types of business owners, and I've always said you cannot be afraid to fire clients, no matter what. In a lot of cases, they do more damage to you psychologically. It can be very frustrating. And if it brings your energy down and you're frustrated, then how are you going to serve the next person? You're not in that great position mentally to serve everybody else because you're so frustrated. Yeah. And I think there's two things to this. There's the psychological part on the agent is that, my God, because when I meet agents, especially at the beginning, I have to take anybody and everybody, and goes, no, you don't. There's something to be said that if you worry about having to take every client, or I always say that if you're acting from a position of lack, I'm lacking money, I need the money, I have to take this. Yeah. But what I say to people is, that is the wrong reason to take something. Mm-hmm. And when you take on an overpriced listing, they're going to be demanding, like I have one agent right now that's talking about, it's been on the market for almost a year, they're overpriced. This agent knows they're overpriced, but the client is saying, look, I'm not going to do a price reduction until I see you doing more and more. So like they've been doing an open house, like 2 open houses every weekend. They want videos, they want all this stuff, and you're putting all this. And I say, you're investing money into this listing with a guaranteed return of 0. So is this a wise investment? And so they'll invest all this money, all this time, and then in the end, perhaps they cancel and they get nothing. Right?
Yeah.
So that's number one.
Yeah.
I think number two is that they go in, and we were talking about this just before we started airing, was the lack of a plan. And so what they do is they will take on, so, okay, they get past it, let's say they take it on, but then what happens is they don't have a plan. And so they're just writing it out, and they're waiting. See, this is the thing. They don't have a plan to say, this is when we're going to reduce. They're waiting for the client to get frustrated and say, okay, let's reduce. And I say, you're the fucking professional, so you got to be the one with a plan.
Right.
Right? You got to have the plan and say, here's the plan, Mr. and Mrs. Client. Boom, boom, boom. To me, those are the two key things in this, is one, being able to say no to over, and then, but if you are going to take something that is, say, slightly overpriced, not having a plan.
Well, there's no surprise there. I mean, a lot of people do fly by the seat of their pants, but you said a whole lot of things in that part. So first of all, and I can tell you countless agents and stories about this, but first of all, when you take an overpriced listing or when you allow the seller to run the show, first of all, they have no value for you because you're allowing them to run the show. So they think you're incompetent, basically. And your whole time with that person, the full time of your duration of contract with that person makes your life miserable, makes their life miserable. The outcome is still going to be the same. It's not going to sell. And you have wasted so much energy on bad clients. And you've got other clients that may be waiting in the wings for your attention who are also going to get frustrated because you don't have enough time for them. And when you do, your mood is not exactly in the right spot. So that's always a problem.
And sorry, just to add to that also, sorry, and if you're going to talk about this, but that's the perfect thing is that when they're not happy with you and you're incompetent, guess what? You're not getting a referral.
You're not.
Right?
You're not getting, you're losing everything.
That's what everybody wants. Like the majority, I would say the majority of successful agents, 70 to 80% of their business comes through referrals. Right. And if you're constantly taking on this stuff,
you're not getting a referral.
They're going to badmouth you.
So you're not only getting the referral, you're losing the client, at that point. And then another agent's going to come along who does know how to deliver the bad news. And by now the seller's been educated. and this has happened to me personally, so I can tell you stories. And I know it, and education is expensive, but it's sometimes a good teacher. So what happens then is another agent swoops in, prices it properly, and boom, it sells in 2 weeks. It's gone off the market. You now have lost that seller. You've lost every relationship that went with that seller. So any hope of working by referral within that seller's sphere of, say, 200 plus friends and family is now gone.
Yep.
It's just gone. Your sign on a lawn is a double-edged sword. It's your best friend and it's your worst nightmare. I can attest to that. I had a listing on Queen Mary in Oakville. And I had it, and it was overpriced, and I was new, and I needed the money, and I needed the business, and I liked being busy. So I allowed them to overprice it by $50,000. Because I know that, because I had two offers that came in $50,000 less. They turned it away. And the long and the short of it is, I lost the listing. A year later, after they tried all sorts of things, I got the listing back. And we then sold the listing for $75,000 less. Than what it had been listed for. It's a very painful education. And there's nothing worse than people coming up to you and saying, hey, Lynn, how come you haven't got that house sold yet? They don't think it's vendor-assisted pricing. They think it's your fault.
Yeah.
And it is in a way because you allowed it to happen.
Yeah.
And there's one way to fix all of this, and that's to get more leads and more business. And then you are not running after things that are going to make you broke and crazy all at the same time.
Yeah. And I think that's, one of the keys is you said go broke because you can spend way too much on these and get nothing. And it's so true that somebody else comes in, they know what to say, how to handle it. So let's talk a little bit about that. Is we know that, and it's funny, it doesn't matter where you go. We talked about looking at the analytics on, we have a number of different products that our agents can use to see analytics for traffic to a listing, looking at the photos, etc. Lone Wolf is a company that provides a product called Cloud CMA. And it's interesting, they provide all these documents and pages, right? And one of the pages is why pricing is so important. They say the first 2 weeks. Everybody tells you the first 2 weeks, and their analytics show it. First 2 weeks is the most important because you're going to get the most views because people that are basically when you send out listings, like if you have automated listings going out, we know that the people who have been searching for a while, they're getting it and all the new people on. But once that hits, after that, the new people aren't getting it, right? It's only the new people coming into the market or seeing it. And so we have all this, that's why it's so important that first week. And then it starts to drop. And so it's important that we get our pricing narrowed down within the first 2 weeks. And that goes back to saying having a plan. But the first thing is you have to have the analytics. The clients in sales, I found that it didn't matter what I said. I'm just saying it to get the sale. But if I show them numbers, that's where it is. And I think the other thing is also telling a story. And there's enough stories out there. And look, if you don't have a story, go find an experienced agent that has a couple of good ones.
Happy to share them.
But, you know, that is the whole thing, is being able to tell a story how things happen. And I think the other thing is letting people know that we are not in control of the market. I don't control the market. I just interpret what's happening within the market. And that's what I'm here to give you. The market dictates what we get, not what you want. Like, and I'll say that on an overpriced listing, there may be somebody out there willing to pay that price, Mr. or Mrs. Client. But the odds of them being in the market today in this region, looking for this type of house, slim to none. So we have to look at the masses. We have to look at the market. Here's what the market is telling us today. And not pricing it based on the market 6 months ago, but basing it on today's current market. That's my favorite line. Today's current market.
And the way to get them that information is to use the sold comparables. Only the sold. Expireds are good because it tells you what has not sold. Actives are absolutely no use to you at all. Those are a wish list. So the solds and the expireds tell you what's actually happening. I just helped an agent the other night with an absorption rate question. She had a listing that had been on the market with other people, and it hadn't sold. And I gave her what I thought the right number was to make this happen. And then I made her go through an exercise of absorption rate. So if there's 10 houses on the market in that price point right now today, right? How many have sold in the market in the last 30 days? Oh, one is sold. So if no more listings come on the market, these houses will be dispersed in 10 months. It's one a month. When you can have real conversations with the sellers, you can explain it. I believe very much in collaboratively working with the seller at the table, pulling out the solds, pulling out the expireds, say this is what's happened. This is why this one took so long and then it expired. This got sold at this price point. Where do you see we're at with this? If you actually sit down and show them the numbers, most people are pretty reasonable. It's when you throw out a number that doesn't make any sense. The other part of this is there's some really tough conversations these days with the seller. Why do you need that? Why do you think your house is worth that? Where did that come from? What's your financial situation like? Did the agent pull a parcel abstract on the property to see how much indebted they are? So that, I mean, oh, God forbid, they work so hard, our agents, and they work really hard, and then at the end of it, they find out that there's not enough money after the sale of the property to close the house. And agents are the last people to get paid. So they've done all that, and then on top of that, they haven't sold, and maybe the cooperating agent's not getting paid. I mean, you have to get down to the people's motivation and the real facts. And if they say they're trying the market or they just want to see what they can get, man, I think you need to run at that point, because you either need to put them on a plan and make them stick to it, or you're wasting your time, your energy, your other clients. You're giving yourself a bad reputation because the sold sign's on the lawn too long. There's a number of reasons why it's not a brilliant idea to work with a really overpriced listing.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point, is there's different reasons for people wanting to overprice.
Yeah.
Right?
Some are legitimate.
Some are, we are losing money and we need this money because we've already bought a new house and we need this to close, which was probably not the best thing to do.
Nope.
And there's those people that are so underwater, and you had mentioned before, we started airing, was that a lot of people don't know how much underwater they are.
They're in denial.
For sure.
I think they know it, but there's a denial factor that
Or
comes in.
they don't know. They know they are, but they don't think it's as bad as it is because they don't really know.
Right.
And it's working with that financial advisor. But you're right. There's times where, because I started out working with a real estate lawyer, and there were deals that could not close because there was no money to make it happen. And that is because the agents were doing their due diligence and seeing what was on there. And because you'll go a lot farther. Because if you get to that point and it doesn't sell, well, why couldn't it sell? Like, you shouldn't have known this. So it's better to look at it ahead of time, have that tough conversation, maybe refer them to a financial advisor. What can we do? How can we reduce this debt? Maybe somebody can go after some of these people, reduce
the debt.
pennies on the dollar to reduce the debt. Now we can sell it. You're going to be the freaking hero.
Yeah.
But if you're afraid to have that conversation and afraid to do the referral, you're going to miss out. But the person who does
gets it.
can get it, right?
That's the person that swings in at the 11th hour and gets the listing, gets the job done. I think personalities are always hope springs eternal. So people always hope something's going to happen. And one of my favorite lines is, I'd rather disappoint you tonight and tell you the truth than have to put you through this for 90 days and then still disappoint you. And the fact of the matter is, if you start too high, you always sell below market value. You always do. Because people are just waiting for you to drop it again and drop it again. And I call it riding the market down.
Yep.
And it's not pretty and it's not nice for anybody.
No.
So you got to have the tough conversation at some point. My feeling is you have it at the beginning. And you look like the expert. And you look like you care about them. You don't care about the commission, or you shouldn't. You should care about helping these people get out of their situation. Your job is to move them to a better situation, a better home, a better life. But that involves asking some questions.
Oh, for sure.
People aren't comfortable with.
Yeah. I think, let's start there, start at the beginning and having those conversations. I think it is, we mentioned it already, is that we don't determine the market is determining the price.
Yeah.
Going back to why people want to overprice. And so there's a couple of things here I want to talk about is sometimes I think agents show too many comparables. So it really confuses things. You got to find the ones that are really close.
Yeah.
If there's too many, then they're going to really start looking at, well, mine's better than this one, that one, that one. So that's number one. Number two is when they start going, well, mine has this, mine's marble, theirs is quartz, whatever. And so I say to agents all the time, use the gas station analogy.
Yeah.
And for me, the gas station analogy, I say to them, look, Shell, I've seen commercials, and you don't see them anymore, but there was a time when Esso would say, hey, we have better gas. Shell has better gas. And then there's that no-name diva, like, who the hell are they? But here's the thing, is that the consumer just looks at it and says, your gas. Like, I don't care what you say, your gas. My car runs on you, and you.
Yeah.
I can cook on that countertop. I don't care whether it's marble or quartz, whatever. I can cook on it. Maybe I want stone of some kind, but to them, it's all the same.
Yeah.
And so I say to people, it's looking at your direct competition. And so if we look at our competition and we look at it like we do gas stations, I'm looking going, okay, this one, that station's $1.22 a liter. That one's $1.23, like 1 or 2 cents, whatever. I'm stopping in. But if you're $1.29, $1.33, I'm sorry, I'm going over here. I don't care if you have better gas. I'm going here. And it's the same thing in the housing, is they'll look and say, these are all pretty much the same. I get it. You think yours is better. But the average consumer is looking, going, look, you have 4 bedrooms, 3 baths. You have an island with stone countertops. You know what I mean?
No,
like
I know
the
exactly.
basics.
Yeah.
If I wanted, I could change it up. They see that as minimal.
Yeah.
change.
Yep.
We all know that it might cost a bit, but they're looking at minimal
Yes.
cost to change. So all things being equal, they're going, I'm looking for that $1.22 a liter
You know,
pricing on that house, and that's the one I'm gonna buy.
you raise, this is a really good point, because a lot of people, buyers, do not see the value in certain things that we all like to put in our house. They don't care, as you say, where it's a $100,000 kitchen or a $50,000 kitchen. It's a kitchen, it works, right? So you're absolutely right about that, and this is where they have to drill down to the things that are more important and more meaningful. Another thing I'm just gonna say, because I said actives don't matter, but one thing about an active, these listings that are active is, I like to say it this way, a buyer can buy whatever they want for the amount of money they have. So if I have $1 million as a buyer, I may have started out looking at a 2-story detached, but if a condo is a better value, I can spend my $1 million on that. So a buyer has more choices, a seller is limited. A seller has to move one property. Buyers can have more, and that comes, there's a very old adage, buyers are liars. And that's kind of where that comes from. It's not they're liars, it's what they're doing, to your point, is looking for the best price on the gas. So they can go anywhere to find the best value for the gas.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have to buy the 2-story, they can do whatever they want. And that's where sellers get hung up. They don't realize how much choices, and particularly now, if you're saying Niagara has the most listings that it's had ever, how many choices have they got? It's like a field day for the buyers.
Mm-hmm.
So, must be priced right, must be in good condition. Hopefully the location is a good location, or you maximize what you do. The other thing I'm finding, which is really interesting, a very interesting point to me, is property's been on the market for 2 months, perhaps. Been no interest. All of a sudden, somebody does come along and make an offer, and it's conditional on sale of the buyer's property. So there's an escape on it. Next thing you know, a day later, 48 hours later, I'm getting agents scrambling. How do I give a notice to remove condition? Because what's happened is there's buyers out there for this property. They're there. And if you've been dropping the price, they're sitting there waiting for you to drop it again. But they're there.
Yep.
Right? And this has proven my point that they're there, because all of a sudden we're seeing more escape clauses and more notices to remove the escape clause. So they're there.
Yep.
So that goes to your strategy of pricing it right, maybe making a price reduction in 2 weeks when it's necessary. You can talk about the percentage and how you
Yep.
see that, but then holding and then just stopping.
Yep.
So I'll let you talk about the percentage. You were going to talk about what that
Yeah, that's
was.
in a minute. One thing I just want to add before that is also when you're looking at pricing, I think in the episode we did with Conrad, we were talking about stats. One of the things I talked about was he's used the word non-inventory or
Right.
uninventory. And it was basically for all these listings that are, say, 90 days and more, 90 days and over on the market. And I said, it'd be interesting if you took a look at the numbers and you really looked at things that sold within 30 days. So if we look at all the ones that sold within the last 30 days, and I'm not saying every house, I'm saying take our comparables.
Right,
So find the comparables that sold in the last 30 days.
right.
Figure out what the price per square foot is.
Yeah.
Then if we take the ones, now I go to the ones that are 90 days and over, comparables.
Yeah.
I'm not dealing with anything between 0 to 90, but 90 days and over. They've been on there forever. And if we took a look at them and looked at original pricing, looked at where they are now, because they may have just reduced it to a really good price, but if we look, where were they pricing wise? And then look at price per square foot.
I use it all the time.
So now,
that's how I come up with
now
numbers.
if I'm at 125 and these ones are at 200, no wonder, again, going back to, the gas scenario,
Yeah.
who has the better, we're looking at price per square foot.
Yeah.
125 versus 175.
Well, it's going to be a lot more than that, but whatever.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I know what you mean.
But
Yeah.
just for sake of numbers,
Yeah.
but at 2,000 square feet,
Yeah.
that adds up to a big difference,
if
right?
If you look at it, you can have a smaller house that looks like a lower price, but when you do the square footage on it, the square footage is way higher than the other one. So typically, sometimes condo square footage comes in around anywhere from $1,000 a square foot to $1,200 a square foot. So if you see a little tiny house, and it's a little tiny house, and you do the square footage, and it's coming in at condo pricing, you've got a problem.
Yeah.
You've got a problem with your pricing. It should be down in the 700-800 mark, right? So that's a fantastic, fun way to do things. It's something I do all the time, to rank how these houses compare. I don't look at the number, I look at the price per square on it, right? The other thing that's
which is, I think is, I mean, I get it from HPI.
Yeah.
The HPI, and it gives you some of those numbers, but it is a good thing for looking when you're having that initial conversation.
And you should be talking to the seller about that information.
Exactly.
And talking to them about it. The other thing that's really interesting, and I was talking to the mortgage fella yesterday about it, is houses that are completely finished, completely redone. Just had one the other day, sold for way above what was going on in the area. Completely done, move-in ready. When people are buying what is a fixer-upper, they're not able to get the money to do the fixing-upping. That doesn't go in your mortgage. That goes out of your pockets. So some of the properties that are all fixed up and all ready to go are easier for a buyer to buy. Which leads me to the point that if you need to repaint your house or remove carpet or do some of those things first, that might be a good time to do them before you put it on the market.
Yeah. And so let's get back to, so now we've dealt with, at the initial. And one of the things is, you were talking about that percentage I was mentioning before filming was, in the middle of it, I think here's what gets missed a lot. And I think, I know you agree, because we talked about it.
Nothing has changed in the last 20 minutes.
Is that, these agents flying by the seat of their pants, and there is no plan going into this.
Yes.
So the number of agents that, again, they'll take the listing because they need it, and then they're afraid to say anything. So then what happens is they wait for the client to say, we're going to do a price reduction. And so what I try and tell them is, you need to have a plan going in. And one of the ones I saw, and again, please keep in mind, this is not about, we're not taking the grossly overpriced listing. We might take a listing that's maybe slightly overpriced. We're going to try their price. It's a, whatever, say $30,000 over, whatever, right?
I think that number of like 10% being kind of the highest.
So I'm just saying, like, if they wanted to price it this much. Here's what I would say. So if you're an agent, please listen. It's having that plan and saying, you know what, based on, and it's so true, is that the first 2 weeks are the most important.
They are.
In the first 2 weeks, if we have no interest, no showings, we're typically about, and if you want to come up with different numbers, please come up with different numbers, but here's what I would say, is we're probably about 8 to 10% overpriced. Right? If there's no interest, no showings at all within the first 2 weeks. Now, if we
you're getting viewings. People are looking at it.
There's no interest. Well, there's no interest.
No, but you can see online they're looking at it, but they're not making a call and they're not booking a showing. Right.
So then you have the second scenario is we have a handful of showings, but there's no offers coming in.
Right.
So now in that scenario, you're probably about, anywhere from 4 to 7% overpriced. And then if you have a number of showings, but we still haven't had any offers, then we're probably in that 1 to 3% overpriced. So then you can say, so Mr. and Mrs. Client, are we clear on what's going to happen after 2 weeks? Right? So you give them that idea that in 2 weeks, here's the 3 different scenarios, and I've already determined the price range. And this is the beauty of it, is that why I talk percentage is because, as I mentioned, in our first episode, I've been doing sales since my 20s. And I know there's a psychological thing happening in clients' brains that when we talk, if I say we have to reduce by 50,000, 100,000, that's a lot of money out of their pocket. They're what they envision is money leaving.
But it isn't.
It's flying away.
It's not real at that point.
Come back. We talk percentage. When we talk percentage, 1%, 3%, that's not as daunting as 100,000 or 50,000.
No, it's more palatable for them to digest.
So for me, it is about having a plan, and I have to let them know ahead of time. Here's the plan. First 2 weeks are so critical, and there's data. I mean, you guys need data. Like, talk to your broker owner. Like, they should be able to get to the data, and you should be able to, if you've been doing this for a while, you should have analytics to show the interest level. you gotta act within the first 2 weeks.
I think-
And make sure they're clear.
Oh, yeah, and actually pre-arrange it, pre-organize it, have it committed to, that there's
Exactly.
an amendment for the price after 2 weeks.
Yeah.
If there's been no offers at all. But here's the other interesting thing, and I think every agent knows it. If I'm a buyer agent and I see a property my client likes, and it's only been on the market a couple of days, I'm not gonna waltz in with a 10% less offer. I'm just not. That's embarrassing. The selling agent is probably gonna go, nope, I'm not having any part of that. So what do? I sit and wait, and I say to my buyers, let's just sit and wait and see what happens. I need that price to come down. I can't go in at 900,000 when they've got it in a million. I'm just not gonna do that to my reputation, and I think everybody knows what I'm talking about with that. So again, that's another reason to argue that that percentage being that much over is also going to stop offers coming in, because buyers are not going to come in that low for fear of what the listing agent and the seller are going to say. But they end up taking a lot less
Yeah.
after a month or two on the market.
Well, I
That's what it
think
goes below
also,
market.
I would say, sort of contrary to
No.
that, but, yes, I agree with you, but I think also, if you wanted to come in early and get ahead of everybody, if you are gonna come in, like, it's listed at $1 million, you're coming in at 900,000, but you had your comparables, go, here's why we feel it is this.
Yeah, well,
Here's what we're comparing it against.
yeah.
Please
Depends-
correct me
it
if I'm
depen-
wrong.
It depends who you're talking to, because
No,
some
no.
people will throw you out of the house. But I gotta
No,
trick for you.
and I get that,
Yeah.
but look, I don't have to buy that house.
But let me give our agents a little trick too that works. House comes on the market, it's got its first weekend of open houses, and your client likes it, but they don't like the price. You say, look, here's our offer. It's good until Monday night. You run your open houses, you knock your socks off, you do what you think. But this is my offer, and it stands until you can keep it for a week. And guess what? Sometimes they come back and go, well, you know what? This was a good offer. We've had all weekend to work this out, and we got nothing. We got a big zero. Let's take this offer.
There you go.
It's a nice way of saying, this is a real offer. My clients really like your house at this price. Go try it for a bit. You can always let us know if you get another offer, but if you don't, my offer will be good till such and such. I've done that. It's worked. It's a nicer way to do it. I feel that if you go in
I like
and
that.
you start telling people your comps compared to their comp, the average ego on the other side of the table gets their back up and says, no, I'm right. So it's just a nicer way to do that. But I think everybody will agree at how this happens. Price it right the first time and talk to the people.
Yeah.
There's things that need to be discussed, and more so now. And you're showing your competence. The other thing that I've proven, if you're willing to walk away and say, just pack your books up slowly and say, I'm so sorry, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, this doesn't fit in my business model. This is not how I do things. I provide XYZ for service. I spend XYZ for money. We're talking about my life and my business here as well, and my reputation, right? This is what I'm prepared to do. If we can't come to an agreement, I can help you find another agent or just let you go on your own way. That happens, I will guarantee you, 24 hours later, those people run back to you because they know that you're confident. You're not chasing the dollar, you're chasing them getting their house sold. I've given that advice before, and it's worked.
Yeah, and you know what, you can also, it's a great example of proving negotiation skills.
It's exactly
Right?
right.
Right,
Walking
because
away is
people-
always the best.
Well, that, but
Yeah.
also saying, are you testing my negotiation skills? Because if somebody offered me a really low offer, and I accepted it, I'd be crazy.
Yeah.
And just same thing, but, I've talked to experienced agents that have, done that. They say, look, I'm not gonna tell you what you wanna hear, I'm gonna tell you what the reality is. Here's what the market is saying. I know there are other realtors out there that will just do whatever you
Yeah.
say.
Yes.
And they'll list it at that high price and it
And
won't
they're-
sell. And
so,
what ends up
yeah.
happening is they come back and call this agent, go, you were right. We tried it, it didn't work, we're ready to listen.
But the damage is done. The damage to the listing can already be done at that point.
For sure, but for the agent who said no the first time, they come back and get it.
Yeah.
And then they come in,
At the real
it gets
price.
relisted at a real price, it sells.
Yeah,
Guess who's the hero?
the person that
We
gets
should
it
have
sold.
listened to you the first time.
Yeah.
We're not going to question you again.
Yeah,
Right?
oh, yeah.
It just solidifies
I
it.
mean, that one client of mine, they went with Property Guys for a few months and still didn't get it sold, and they came back to me. But unfortunately, the two offers that I had for them were 35,000 better than the one they ended up taking after all that. And that's where the big danger is. And a lot of times agents will overprice a listing to get the listing,
Yep.
and that person could be less qualified to actually sell the house than the person who's telling them the right price for the house.
Yep.
There's such a thing as list to sold ratio. I mean, I think consumers should be thinking about, what is your list to sold ratio? Do you sell
Yeah.
100% of your listings, or do you sell 89% of your listings? That's the big question, is the track record of the agent making the commitment. They know the price, and they're going to keep their list to sale ratio high
Yep.
by pricing it properly, marketing it properly, promoting it properly, and getting the thing gone.
Yep. No, so true.
Yeah. It's so simple, too.
Oh, it is. It is. So, hopefully in this episode you've learned a few things about pricing. Hopefully you're not taking a lot of overpriced listings, at least grossly overpriced listings. That's just crazy. It is important that you find your niche. Do not be bullied into taking a listing just because you're acting from a position of lack. You don't have enough, money, because this can drain a lot of money out of your pocket. It can take a lot out of you psychologically, mentally. But we want to see all of you succeed and thrive. And so we thank you for joining us this week. And as usual, please like, subscribe. We'd love to hear your comments as well. Please shoot in. We'd love to hear what topics you want to see us cover. One little note for this second season is that we are adjusting our schedule a little bit. So instead of releasing an episode every week, we're going to be releasing every other week. Still providing the great content. Our brokerage is looking at putting out a number of different podcasts. So there's going to be a lot of different viewpoints, a lot of different information out there. But the best is right here on the Business of Real Estate podcast with Lynn, Hoffmann, and Eric Johnson. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.